Howdy. Haven't had any videos for a while, but there's quite a bit going on here in the studio, so I thought this would be a good time to start a new set. Today I'm going to go over some redesign for the studio, redesign for my pedal board, and also talk a little bit about starting my third album. It's always interesting to start a new album, especially this one, because unlike the other two albums, I am literally starting this one with a blank sheet of paper. I don't have any content written, or I didn't have any content written when I started, and so it gave me the opportunity really to think of the album much more as a whole, as opposed to a sum of its parts. So with that, let's talk about the studio. The studio has been for me a great place of creative refuge, creative expression, but during the making of the first two albums, I've learned that there are things I would have liked to have changed, things to help my workflow, things to help my quality of life at the house. And so let's go over a few of these. Well, let's talk about the studio. A couple of new and interesting things. I've added this sideboard, which matches the desk by output. And it allows me to put my Prophet on it, as well as this here Korg drum log, and it's all plugged through the Furman power conditioner here. Also gives me some more storage, and you know, you could look on the website. It's a pretty handy item, and of course it matches, which is very important. The other main addition to my workflow is this Audient ASP 800, which is a microphone preamp, which is connected via optical to the ID44. And what I'm using this for primarily is a way to plug all my gear into one place and be able to select it easily through the interface, but also have enough individual controls that I can manage my various instruments, volume and whatnot. I have a couple of additional microphones that I use, one of which is going to be on the amp, and then another which is going to be on the acoustic guitars for double mixing. I have redone my guitar pedal board because I was so pleased with the bass pedal board and how it improved my bass sound. I thought, okay, what do I want to do on the new album with guitar? And so I got rid of a few of my reverb. I got rid of my reverb pedal, now handling all the reverb in the box, and predominantly in the mix, as opposed to in the recording phase. And then I've got the Line 6 DL4. I still have my Mood and my Lore pedal, but then I have a lot more options now with texture on the electric guitars, with the Cali 76, the Freakout Hotcake, and the JHS Kilt. So another thing about the Line 6, which is nice, is it gives me a looper, which is handy. I don't perform, and so performance looping isn't what I need, but I do need sometimes to play around with effects when I'm trying to be creative in the studio. The last thing is I bought this Saturn Works buffered splitter. Half of it goes to the interface, and the other half is going to the amp. Still have my grandmother, still have the microcork. Pretty pleased with all of that. And that's the new things in the studio. All in all, I'm hoping that this is going to allow me to be creative differently on the new album. So let's talk about the new album just a little bit. This is going to be album number 3, and as I said, it's a little different for me because unlike the other 2 albums that I had some material from before that I was mixing in, this one was very much tabula rasa, which is a good thing because it gives me a chance to think about maybe putting together an album that has a little more theme to it. In my days as a sculptor, I spent a lot of time with spiritual and religious themes, not so much iconography, but themes and whatnot. And so this album has already taken place with some of those ideas. It's also got intentionally a lot more keyboards in it, a lot more piano, a lot more synthesizer, and a lot more straight up guitar as opposed to ambient guitar. And so I'm hoping that it makes the album more accessible, but it also makes the album different than the other 2. One of the things that I have learned making music is that every time you come to something that you've made, you see it differently. And as I look at what I've done previously, there are things that I've looked at and said, oh wow, that's better than I thought it was, or different than I thought it was. And then other times, I just hate it. And when I hate it, I don't just go, oh, I hate it, it's so bad, it's so amateurish, whatnot. I hate it, and I think, why doesn't this speak to me anymore? And why doesn't it speak to me across the great gulf of time? And I realized that part of it is that it doesn't have enough accessibility to the music. And so that's what I'm trying to fix a little bit, more accessible. So that's album number 3. I'll put a couple more of these videos out as I go along. Right now I've got 4 tracks recorded. One of the things that I'm doing differently on this album is instead of trying to record them one at a time, what I'll do is I record everything that I can get done and then I'll just leave it. And sometimes all I'll get is a drum, and sometimes all I'll get is a guitar, and sometimes all I'll get is a vocal, and that's fine. I'll just put that down, and if I don't have another idea right now, I'll just leave it and wait for it to percolate. The other thing is I'm trying not to be so pressured by creativity. I know that sounds funny, but I'm trying not to make the creative process pressure me into doing things just because I feel like I should be creative. So when I have a block or something that I can't move forward, what I'll do instead is, play around with one of my little bits and pieces of kit here and try to learn them better. And sometimes just doing that gives me some ideas. And last, I listen to a lot of music. Listening to music is for me a great source of inspiration because it always opens me up to other ways to do things, other effects, other sounds, other compositions. So, on to the rest of album number 3, the title of which I will release in some future video. Until then, cheers.